Welcome back to the Behind the ERG podcast. As always, I'm your host, Edward Odofin, and we are back with another special episode that I'm really excited about, and I'm pretty sure you will love. So, as always, on Behind the ERG, we focus on the stories and people that are reshaping inclusion in some of the world's leading corporate spaces and are leading actionable initiatives to create spaces that are for all. On that topic, I want to talk about our next guest today. This is someone who blends digital transformation with staff network ERG leadership and community activation. They also have a signature style, which is clear communication, low friction inclusion, and a people first way of working. Our guest is also the co chair of the Employee Staff Network at their organization, which is Embrace, which is focused on race and faith. And they also bring a deeper experience in apprenticeships, functional skills, project delivery, and a powerful commitment to delivering pathways that generally include people. Beyond the workplace, our guest has a community impact that is vast and extends widely, from environmental volunteering days to mentoring young women to delivering youth career sessions across the borough of Croydon to supporting colleagues' awards nominations and preparing for white ribbon ambassadors to help against ending things like men's violence against women and girls. They also have an extensive history of global and local outreach, including working across the Big Issue in Bristol, community projects in Malawi, fundraising for the Kenya Children's Trust, and youth development across the National Citizen Service. There's a lot in there, and through this conversation, I'm going to unpack some of those things. But without me going on any longer, I'm going to introduce our guest for today, Tansy Cox.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Powerful intro.
Yeah, it makes me sound like someone I'm not sure I am. But yeah, thanks for bigging me up. I suppose it's always nice to start on a high. So yeah.
It's not big enough if it's all factual. So thanks for all the work you're doing. And on Behind the ERG, one of the things that we advocate for is around wellness and well-being. So we'll start off with a basic question. Just what's one thing this week that's brought you joy?
Ooh, literally this morning, I stopped by our central office in London to do some day job stuff. And one of our core members had left me a Carla's Natives book to have a little read as a gift and written a really lovely inscription in. So feeling really touched this morning, actually. And again, I suppose it kind of makes you realise perhaps the little impacts rather, that you are having on people. So yeah, feeling really blessed. How about you? How are you doing?
I've never had anyone ask me in return, but I'm good.
Good.
I'm feeling well. It's been a productive week, and I'm keen to ensure the week ends on a positive note. So yeah, thank you for asking.
It's all right. Like you said, mental health, yeah?
Amazing. All the other guests listen to Tansy. She's asked me, so I'm expecting everyone going forward to start asking me how I am as well. But moving the conversation on and kind of talking in more detail about some of your achievements. We'll probably start in terms of why digital transformation. Why did you move into that space or field?
A really good question. I still wonder it myself sometimes. Why am I in digital transformation? Because I have skills that are apparently transferable into that space. As you mentioned, I kind of have an apprenticeships and functional skills background. Teaching and training is about communication. It's about sort of leading people, making sure psychological spaces are safe and all those things. So kind of moving into projects made sense. I am also inside Serco a bit of a queen of secondments. Okay. So if there is an opportunity that comes up and I can perhaps try and learn some new things or apply my skills in different ways, I'm always really keen to do that. So I think technology might be my home, though. I think I finally found where I feel comfortable and where I seem to feel like I'm adding more value than I have in my career before. So, yeah, it's by accident, I think, is the answer. But it feels good. So I'm going to stay here for a while and see what happens.
Amazing. And on that topic, what would you give in terms of advice for people that are considering a career in digital transformation, and what do you enjoy most about it?
I think if you're considering a career, go for it.
Yeah.
It's a very changing industry, technology, as I'm sure we all know. It's emerging, it's current. So if you're someone that kind of likes to do lots of different things, lots of challenges, I'd say it's a really healthy space to be in. There's lots of opportunities to learn as well. So if you're someone that gets lit up by developing yourself and learning new skills, I think technology is a great space to be in. And you don't need to be fantastic at coding. It's a mistake I used to make and be, I'm not very techie. But there are non-technical skills that definitely add value and create impact, I think, more importantly. So give it a go.
Yeah.
Get us a comment, see what happens. Do a bit of shadowing and something, just test it. You don't know till you go kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, my advice is try.
Yeah. And that was also touched on by a previous guest as well, which they highlighted the importance of taking risks, especially in your career as well. So it's good that you're obviously advocating the same thing.
Yeah, I think getting out of your comfort zone is vital. Obviously, you don't want to force yourself into situations where you feel really uncomfortable because you kind of decapacitate yourself, I suppose. But if you kind of someone that likes to take a few risks. Again, you can jump forward and take some big risks, or you could incrementally develop. But getting out of your comfort zone, I think, is how I've grown. It's always nice to stay in your comfort zone. It's safe, it's familiar. But every time you kind of poke your head up above that challenge or that barrier, I find that you grow and can usually help others grow sort of in your wake as well, which I think is really important. So break those comfort zones, see what happens. You can always, especially if it's a secondment, you can always go back to your previous role, can't you? So, I'm glad that we align though, me and Tok. That's good.
Yeah, that's the motto for 2026. Live the year outside your comfort zone.
Yes. Although sometimes do be comfortable and rest and, look after your well-being and things, because I think it's really easy to think that you have to constantly be pushing forward. That's not healthy. Sometimes you just got to sit where you are. You can't keep moving forward every 6 to 12 months. You kind of need to master where you are. Yeah. But if it's feeling really easy, I think that's a sign that you're ready to take that next risk and get out of that comfort zone then. If it starts feeling comfortable, it's time for change. Yeah. But I like this mantra. I'm going to pick it up. Thanks.
I'm going to pick it up too.
Yeah.
And on that point in regards to your career so far, I'm going back to go forwards.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about why you secured a career in digital transformation, but I'm going to go back a bit and talk more about your groundings and foundations. And I know you started off in apprenticeships and functional skills.
Yep.
How has that foundation helped you in achieving the career success you have now? And for those who are new to those terms, what does functional skills mean?
So functional skills are like your GCSE maths and English replacements. Okay. So for those that didn't get those GCSE results but want to move forward with some training, you do need to pass the C-level equivalent. So I taught a lot of adults how to get their GCSE equivalents. And I think something that I really learned teaching apprentices, obviously I was learning myself, but it's really evident to me that capability is everywhere, but perhaps access is not. And I worked with a lot of people who call themselves stupid because perhaps they were dyslexic, perhaps they had dyscalculia. We're talking people that are 50, 60 years old that didn't have the neurodiversity checks and the other skill checks and things like we had. So I think it's about removing the friction. We need to recognise that not everyone thinks in the same way. By kind of thinking about my process and my practice in that space and adjusting to the learners, you saw their success and the potential come through and be reached and actually surpassed in a lot of cases. And especially when you get someone that again comes to you, go, I'm stupid. And if you create that psychological safety, you set the expectations, you clarify the process, when they win, it's an amazing feeling as their trainer, but seeing that change in the individual because they lose those shackles of perceived stupidity or I'm not enough or whatever. And so they can start moving forward and get out into their comfort zones and all those things as well. So, Yeah, I think if you remove those barriers, like I say, remove that friction, clarify expectations, and design with people in mind, then that's where we're going to get this kind of progressive change, not just in teaching and learning, but I think in all industries. We kind of all have a responsibility now, don't we, to take those pain points out, I think.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've kind of identified already from the answers you shared so far is the importance of people in the work you do. And what I want to ask now is some of the themes I've pulled out is having like a people first like lens or approach, and also removing frictional barriers in your work. Why are these things key to the work you do, and how has your approach evolved over time as well?
I think as I'm learning and evolving, I'm realizing that in diverse spaces, we get better outcomes. And studies are backing this up. This isn't just my perception. And so, again, I think moving from a place of relative privilege, I have a responsibility to other people. I was also very lucky as a young child. My paternal grandma and her sisters are all were better, but all incredible, kind of consistently, quietly getting on with making things better for other people was kind of their life's purpose, if you like. Obviously, they had their own families and their own things going on, but the community is what always mattered most, and they never judged someone by their differences. They always saw the good in everyone, and I think that kind of compounded in me as I got older and had my own life experiences. People are, I think they're beautiful. Obviously, there's a few exceptions to this rule, but I find people fascinating. I find their journeys interesting. And the more I learn about others, the more equipped I feel to face the world. So it's a symbiotic relationship, isn't it? If I kind of recognise that I do have some privilege and I do have some skills or some knowledge I can share freely, perhaps other people treat me like that and I can learn from them. So it's, being the person that I suppose I wish I'd seen more of when I was younger, or certainly when I was starting in my career. And I take it quite seriously, I think. But also it's fun. Getting to know other people and, learn things about different cultures and backgrounds, to me, is just really interesting. Maybe I should have been an anthropologist, but, that's far too sort of theoretical, isn't it? I think, like we're doing today, connecting with someone and learning about them is, it's exciting.
And the seriousness in which you take this is echoed in the additional responsibilities you adopt. And one of them is being the co-chair of the Embrace Staff Network at Serco. Are you able to share with us more around why you thought or believe that's something that you wanted to do? And also, are you able to share with us in terms of what direction you want to take that network going forward now as well?
Yeah, of course. So I, again, through the teaching and learning work of things, you have to do some DEI kind of updates and things for your continuous professional development. So it's a cornerstone of that industry. And I'd always end up kind of leading on those things or doing the research, sharing it with other colleagues, happy to, because it was a personal interest.
Yeah.
What I found, though, especially since moving into more of a corporate space, is that it becomes more of a tick box exercise. And so I think when I came to Serco, in one of my previous seconded lives, I ended up picking up the communications for a few of our staff networks because they just were running low on volunteers and time. And it's from getting involved with the networks that I found myself, obviously, just, engaging with it more and more. And Embrace, I think it just, again, it lit up those parts of me that's like, I can still learn about other people. I can still have a corporate role, but I can share that knowledge and perhaps make more of an impact. And then when the last chair left, we put Ms. Barr in. I was going to support her as the comms lead still. And we needed another chair. And the network asked me, which I was really honoured. And it just, I don't know, it's saying yes to things, isn't it? Say yes to the opportunities. And like we said, get out that comfort zone, see where you fit. But I do try to keep myself accountable. I recognise, that I might not be perceived as the best front of a network like ours. So I do try to run it kind of as a democracy, and make sure that certainly our core members are seen as kind of a panel of experts, that ultimately I'm representing what they think and feel, not just my own perceptions and my own kind of assumptions. So in terms of direction, we have put a lot together around, I think I've shared with you sort of the Ubuntu values. I started to really think about our strategic direction, and how we could be taken a bit more seriously perhaps by execs and other leaders. And I think aligning to the business's goals and also our wider inclusion goals has really helped. And I did a lot of learning last year when I was preparing for this. And I think, again, attending some sessions that you actually introduced me to some people, Ed, and going along and seeing how they talked about it. And Ubuntu made me go, I've met this before. I heard about this in Malawi and when I was in Zimbabwe and stuff. And it's kind of how I saw people behave in that part of the world. And I remember being really touched by it during my experiences. So there's something about winning for the collective good rather than the individual. And I believe that's where the Ubuntu design comes in. So yeah, we're now trying to think of our success as shared success. Every time one of us wins as a network, we're all, succeeding. We're all moving forward. We all benefit from that. And I think it stops this them and us behaviours. So I am because we are, and R stands for attract, retain and elevate. And that's our objectives. That's what we're here to do is, bring in new talent, make sure it's supported. And if it wants to retain and retrain, we direct them through the business, and let's get some black leaders, not just in Serco, but, elevate that a lot more. And I think I take the same principle no matter where I worked, because it seems to be working. It might not forever, but for right now and where we are in the UK, I think it's the right methodology. Come back to me at the end of the year, though, when we've tested it out, maybe.
And there's a lot to unpack in that. But one of the first things I'm going to ask before I go into some more questions on that is, for people listening who are unfamiliar with these terms, what is an Embrace network, and what is the Ubuntu methodology or framework?
Okay, so Embrace as a network obviously is what we called ourselves. It's literally about wrapping yourselves around every culture, every ethnicity, every religious faith. So we see ourselves as a kind of cross faith, cross community network. We don't tend to silo, because we think that creates further divisions and there's no opportunity for cohesive learning. So for us, Embrace is literally, I think it's the home of everyone in Serco. We all have a race, we all have a culture, we all have an ethnicity. And I don't think that the majority need to apologise for that, but we need to recognise and elevate, again, going back to my principles, when we have the right people with the right merits and behaviours and skills, if they're from minority background, we should be sponsoring those people into that space. So Embrace is a kind of holistic methodology, if you like, and I'm determined to get every member of Serco to sign up. In terms of Ubuntu, the philosophy is basically that we are all one, if you like. And again, we all kind of suffer and we all celebrate together. So it's that kind of community-based principle. I wouldn't go as far as to say it means that we need to go sort of down Marxism and those kind of routes, because you can still have people that perhaps have a little bit more than others in a society of Ubuntu. But generally, it's about, rather than pointing out who's suffering, it's going to help that person alleviate the suffering, and recognising by doing that, you're strengthening the entire community. I might have got some of that wrong, but that's certainly my interpretation of my learning and everything.
No, that's really insightful and educational for me and the listeners as well. But if there's any unclarity around what you said, we could share some information in the description.
Yes, please.
Around some official sources around that. But that's really useful to know. So I'm going to go on to my next question. You touched on it in your previous answer, but I'm going to expand a bit more on it now, which is, you are occupying the space of a chair of a race and faith-led network. What, if any, type of scrutiny have you faced occupying that role? And expanding on that, what advice would you give to other people and maybe from a white background who want to get involved in race or faith networks going forward as well?
So yeah, I think let's just call the elephant in the room
Yeah.
out, Ed. I am a white woman,
Yeah.
and I am leading a network of people from various different backgrounds, as we've said. I think as long as you're leading openly, my job is probably more to facilitate and sponsor the progress of others than myself in that space. But it's also a privilege to be working alongside, I think, some of our smartest people in Serco, and to learn about them and their, I learn about their roles as well. It's not just all sitting talking about cultures and things all the time. We're friends. We look after each other. We care for each other. So I just think if you look like me on paper and you kind of are interested in other people or learning a bit about the world or just want to make the world a bit of a nicer place, there's no better place you can start than elevating and sponsoring the voices of people that don't look like you,
Yeah.
and seeing what they can teach you. So yeah, that's kind of my process there, Ed. And I've completely forgotten what the second part of your question was. So you have to remind
No
me.
worries. I probably need to make my questions shorter, so
It's
it's
fine.
more of a me thing than you. But the second part of the question was all around like, what advice would you give to other white colleagues or peers that want to be more involved in race, staff networks,
Yeah.
but feel some element of imposter syndrome or feel like they may not be accepted in those spaces?
I think, again, some of that's down to the network itself. If you're running a network where white people don't feel like they can join in any capacity, are you running an inclusive network would be my challenge. If people are working in silos of different faiths and well, then you might not get that crossover, and maybe that's something you want to look at is an alignment kind of network that brings all of those different perspectives together. But I do think in terms of, white allyship and things like that, how can you learn about other people's lived experiences if you're not spending time with them? You might read one book a year, but that's one person's lived experience, one person's perspective. The conversations we have when we do our strategy meetings and things like that, they're so rich. I just learned so much. So yeah, I think, again, if you feel you have a responsibility as a leader, around safe spaces, psychological awareness, and allyship, there's probably no better place to start. But I do think, again, if there's barriers to you kind of getting in, it's about professionally approaching the network chairs, not challenging, but just those very open questions of, am I allowed to join? Is this a space where I would be included? I don't want to kind of come in and dominate it. I just want to be part of it. And so sort of almost setting that expectation of what you're looking for. If you are a white person and you want to go into a race and ethnicity network and boss everyone around, it's not the place for you.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. Do that in your day job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's for people that are ready to make positive change. And yeah, just get in and see what those members can do and what they can teach you. Because I am inspired by all of ours. I'd say on a regular basis, probably daily. I'm sounding very mushy right now, but they really do. As a group and as individuals, they really touch my life. I'd love to shout all their names out, but I won't because this isn't the place. But they do know who they are, I hope. And just watching how they are now supporting each other, I'm slowly kind of preparing for succession and things. And they're filling those spaces between them. So, yeah, what a joy to be involved in, and what a privilege as well.
And one of the traits that you have, which I'm going to shout out on this podcast, is around connecting people. And I know from my personal experience, you've connected me with a number of people across your organisation and beyond. So that leads to my next question, which is around engaging with different demographics and different ethnicities and groups is very complex.
Yep.
Because there's so many different nuances and it extends beyond race. So, for example, what Takir touched on in the last episode is that the black experience in the UK is very different to Africa, very different to the USA, and so forth. So, what I want to ask you is, how, in your role as co-chair, do you drive initiatives or design like events or activities that's able to navigate or transition across those different complexities And as much as you can share, do you have any example of a particular initiative that you've worked across that you're like particularly proud about?
Proud of everything we do, but that's a bit biased. So
Yep.
we've had to try a few different approaches. Let's be really
Yeah.
honest. And I think if you're thinking about communications, it's all your different channels.
Yeah.
Your campaigns and your events as a network kind of need to be the same thing. There's 55,000 of us, I think, globally in the organisation. And in the UK alone, I think there's about 30,000 of us. 25,000-ish are on frontline roles.
Yep.
These people are not online. I can't drop them an email and let them know about Diwali celebrations or whatever. But at the same time, they should be entitled to know and hear about it. So that kind of breakdown between the corporate and the functions and the people with the laptops that are online and the frontline has been a challenge. What we found that has started to work is myself and my co-chair Jalen get out and meet people.
Yeah.
Tend to aim for sort of senior middle management in our different contracts and business units. What we find in those spaces is people are aware that they need to lead more inclusively. They are aware that they need to facilitate some change, but they almost need permission to give it a go. So the first thing that I say again to white allies is you are not going to get this perfect every single time. Be ready to put your hands up and say, I made a mistake. I've learnt from it. I won't repeat it again. Or I shouldn't use that term. Or thank you for educating me on that. I really, that kind of humility. Don't be it's so much more damaging to not try. A bit like we said with your personal development, isn't it? So be ready to make mistakes. You are not flawless. Definitely learn from the people you're working alongside. Help them to hold you accountable. But give it a go. And in terms you said about connecting people, I think I'm like life's cheerleader and facilitator. I think that's why I'm put here, is to go, hey, you do really well to meet this person. You've got some good ideas. And even if I can't solve those problems, my brain, I think it is, just sees those opportunities quite naturally. That's, I think, my superpower. So I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. Your superpower, I think, is leading us all through this amazing Emerge activity, and goodness knows what else you're doing for us, Ed. And I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast can probably identify one or two of their own superpowers.
Yeah.
How are you using that superpower to make the world a better place would be my challenge.
Yeah.
And I think some of my colleagues would just say I could talk to a doorpost. So it's that, I never realised I was quite friendly until about 5 years ago. I'd have been too scared. The anxiety used to stop me, the nerves, oh my gosh, I'm going to get something wrong. So again, it kind of, I suppose what I do and what I demonstrate is part of me and my growth and my change in this kind of space. I don't know, just be yourself, be authentic, spot those skills. And I probably sometimes speak when I shouldn't. Again, let's be really honest. But I feel like if certainly someone from a minority background is in a meeting and they're kind of apologising for how sorry about my culture, sorry about my choice of language, sorry about, you don't need to say sorry. Yeah. I sound like a Bristolian. No one's telling me off for that. Yeah. We have accents, we have backgrounds, we have different ways of phrasing things. As long as we can understand each other and there's no animosity, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think, again, and I try to be that role model for the network. I have a lot of very shy people in my team who watch me bounce around and make friends. And I think they find it a bit off-putting, not between us, but just, oh gosh, do I have to be like that to be successful? And I constantly tell them, no, you need to find your little niche, your little superpower, and that's where you'll have your success. Yeah. I think if the world was full of people like me, we'd all go absolutely insane. Yeah. So we need balance. We need the quieter people as well that are reflective and don't just barge into a room and make friends too. Yeah. Those people notice things I've seen that I don't.
Yeah.
So.
And on that point, how do you advocate for those quieter people, especially from underrepresented groups, in corporate spaces where I guess their seniority may not automatically give them confidence in being as vocal as yourself? Yeah. And then additionally, following that, what I want to ask is, how do you work across your role as co-chair to create spaces for, I don't want to say the next generation of like co-chairs or leaders, but for the next cohort of people who want to move into that space? Like, how do you like support them in that transition?
So I'm going to answer that one first because
Yeah.
it's fresh.
Yeah.
So it goes back to my training skills, I think. I don't know who taught me this, but someone taught me a long time ago. If I'm training you something brand new, I'll show you, I'll demo it, I'll do best practice. We do it together so I can guide you. And then I'm going to step back and watch you do it, Ed. And I try to do that with our network members. So my co-chair, Jalen, is quite early years career, but he has so many skills and so many attributes that I'm jealous of. But he just needs me to kind of show him how to lead a network. He's never done anything like this before. But if he can master this, imagine what his CV is going to look like before he's 30. This is why I keep saying he's going to be our CEO. So, I think it's about going back to the basics of training sometimes. I also think you need to kind of be ready to transfer the opportunity. So I try my hardest to fill in the space when no one's filling it. As a leader, I think that's my job. If no one's taking the activity or whatever forward, but we need it as a network, then I'm going to be the role model and I'm going to pick that up, sometimes to my detriment. But then I will probably use my people skills, Ed, to find a couple of network members. I'm like, hang on, you talk to me about your development plans, your ambitions, where you want to go. This would be a really good sort of soft skill for you to start building. Why don't we do it together? And then a few months later, I can start being like, oh, you did a great job. Yeah, you're in charge of that now. Off you go. And actually what I found is when we did our strategy day last year, we put all the lead roles up and said, we're re-strategizing, we're restructuring, tell us what you're committed to. Which again gave people, they could just go and write their name by something they're interested in. So I don't have leads in some of my functions, but I have 4 or 5 very capable people. So they're sharing the role of lead. And they kind of take it in turns and support each other. So again, we're just creating this very collaborative space. And the day job obviously has to come first. So again, recognising that there will be peaks and troughs in each of our year. But that seems to be how I'm preparing for the next generation. We're also thinking about, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but at the end of this year, I think is the end of my term as co-chair for Serco Embrace. I think I'm going to stay around as a kind of advisory capacity. Mainly because I've learned a lot in the last 2 years, and I'm sure Jalen and whoever else comes next do a fabulous job, but I'm not sure, I'm just not sure if I should run away and leave them to it. I think just having that support, it's almost like we do it together stage still. If they turn around and go, I don't need you, I'll run away and leave them to it. But I'll always have Embrace in the core of what I do in that business. I'm probably everywhere. So again, it's about finding those opportunities to embed the work further. And I'll probably still be trying to find members from next year onwards. But again, it will be Jalen taking the floor. He's already starting to lead a lot of our meetings, make decisions, proofread other people's comms. The way he gives feedback. I mean, he helped me prep for this session, if I'm honest, Ed. And he's so, I won't go into it. We'll have another whole podcast episode on Jalen. Maybe you should meet him. But he really thinks deeper than I think we assume young people do.
Yep.
And he doesn't rush through things. He wants to do things properly and with intent, which I think is a phenomenal skill for a young person.
Yep.
It's Jalen's turn.
Yeah.
Get out of his way.
Yeah. Big up Jalen as
Big
well.
up Jalen.
Big up Jalen. My next question on this topic is going to be around, you spoke about potential transition, but still maintain the advocacy for Embrace. And my question is going to be around leaders who share the same identity as you. What advice would you give them in terms of leading a multicultural team in 2026? What would you say would be like the top 3 behaviors that they would need to inhibit in order to do that successfully?
So almost like a starter kit then, yeah? I think you have 3 main tasks. One is transfer opportunities. Get that mic to someone that doesn't look like you.
Yep.
And someone actually mentioned to me they set up meetings now, their leadership meetings, and they invite a different kind of frontline member in, different backgrounds, different ethnicities and things. So again, you don't have to pass the mic physically. Sometimes just inviting someone into that kind of next level space. Fund what matters as well. Don't just put your money into tokenistic activities. I found shifting budget into kind of community-led priorities. We've done some work with yourself on the sickle cell things. Obviously, we're starting to work more closely with Emerge anyway. But even within our own business, rather than kind of lecturing people on different cultures and backgrounds, we're now trying to spend our money on bringing people together to celebrate that instead, which is just so much more positive. And then my last piece of starter kit, I suppose, is introduce evidence loops. You need to be accountable. So tell your team what you're aiming for, and then kind of let them help you check in with yourself, maybe quarterly. And I think within that, as yourself, if you are a leader, like, from my kind of background, and you're leading a multicultural team, you probably need to make sure that data is not just accountable to kind of your core leadership team or the people, your direct reports, but further down, so that people can see you're an inclusive leader. Because I think sometimes there's a disconnect between the kind of what I would call the working colleagues and the leading colleagues, and who's doing what. Things like, your viewpoint surveys and things like that at the end of the year kind of show you what your communities want. So how are you responding to that? And how do you tell people you've responded to it? I think often businesses do the things, but don't go, we've done this because you asked for this. So it's that transparency and comms again, isn't it? Just keeping everyone aware of the journey that you're taking. And again, be ready to make the mistakes in those things too. Transfer opportunities, fund what matters, and introduce your evidence loops and accountability.
Perfect. And thanks for the recap.
No worries.
Because I was going to do the recap, but you've done it for
Sorry,
me.
Ed.
So no, I'm grateful. What I want to transition on to next is, as we're moving into Women's History Month, I want to talk about the work you're doing in that space. And I want to start that conversation by talking about Serco's Women in Tech ERG. And I know they've recently been recognised for 2 awards. And what I want to ask you about is, what were the things that particular ERG was doing that led to that recognition? And then what takeaways from that recognition would you give to other ERGs?
So I think let's first of all set the scene. It was 2024 when we won those 2 awards, and it was a really good year, I think, in the business, certainly in technology. We're kind of in the right place. The service desk was winning lots of awards for its progress. Individuals were being recognised internally and externally. So I think we're kind of in the the right zone, if you like, to gain that recognition. The Women in Tech chairs and the core team had kind of implemented a lot of initiatives to attract female talent, so things like Code First Girls, and they'd created opportunities to transfer talent including myself, because I was sort of in HR and comms world before that. So again, they helped me see my transferable skills and kind of guided me into a project role and an opportunity. And it wasn't just me. There were people that don't look like me that benefited, just to clarify. So it was sort of based on merit. We were building teams of people that were capable. And I have to shout out as well, we had leaders that got and still get it. They get that diverse teams tend to, certainly in technology, if you don't have a diverse team in your planning and your design, you're probably going to miss a really big thing in your system, which will be technical debt and things later. So getting it right first time, or as close to as you can, is important for leadership. And the number of male allies in UK&E Tech in Serco is incredible. They're all very supportive. And so I think, again, it's the right kind of space. Like I said earlier, I didn't need to be techie to succeed. And I think those transferable skills have been honed and celebrated further by joining that, and not just, again, for myself. At the time, our UK&E Chief Technology Officer was a woman, an Asian lady as well. She'd actually been in Australia for us and transferred, so again, had a really dynamic career. Right now, our group directors are, I think, 3 out of 5 are female, so in technology again. So we have a really strong female leadership presence. And I think that's sort of speckled, if you like, throughout all of our structure. No, we're not at full equity. It's not 50-50, but the business is consciously working towards it. And so I think just all that effort, all that time, all those good things we were doing and the impact it was demonstrating put us in a really good place to secure those awards. As a result of that, I think it elevated our reputation, certainly for women in the technical space. I think it also highlighted that we have women working on like the European Space Agency contracts and some really cool stuff if you're into that kind of thing. So I think it just reinforced like there's a space here for you. If you have the right skills and you tick the boxes, come on in. You'll be made very welcome and you'll be able to be successful. Does recognition always lead to that? Probably not. I think we're all aware sometimes that the sponsors get quite a lot of awards in some of these things. And I've certainly noticed, not in this space, but I've certainly noticed where we've perhaps stopped sponsoring certain things that we don't get any finalists anymore. And so your packs need to be better. So, but I think if you go for those truly equitable awards, which you obviously champion all the time, Ed, then we're going to get a better outcome. It's going to be more balanced, and hopefully the winners that are selected are great examples. I think it's also an opportunity to network, isn't it? When you've discovered who those kind of talents are, those teams, learn from them as much as they're willing to share. Hopefully they're, if they're winning diversity and inclusion awards, they'll be open to sharing their success. But it's I think it's imperative as well to celebrate people, and especially people who are from, different backgrounds to me. I want to see everyone represented, and I want young people to see, winners from all different backgrounds. So it doesn't matter who they are and where they come from. They can go, hey, there's someone that looks like me that's winning. It doesn't matter what they're winning. They're just winning. They're succeeding. It's that whole, if you can't see it, you can't be it kind of thing, isn't it? And I think, that's the sort of knock-on effect to perhaps the next generations. So you get a little celebration. And actually, even if you don't get a winner, what I found by nominating people, again, my personal skills, get lit up because I get to celebrate other people. I get to do it officially. Sometimes they get a nice little email saying they've been a finalist or whatever. And it's that reinforcing the right behaviours, the recognition. And then if they're picked or they're the winner or whatever, that's your feedback. You're doing the right thing as a leader. You celebrated the right person, or the right team, So, I think that's where I find these kind of things make an impact. Definitely waffling at this point, but it's all good.
Really powerful, and I really want to pull out that stat around, you said 3 to 5, 3 and 5.
Yeah, right now there are
women are directors.
So
right?
our top is is male. I won't name or shame. And then his direct reports, he has 4, apart from our regional leads, and they are all 3 out of 4 of those are women. Wow. And they're women from different, maybe not different ethnic backgrounds, but they've certainly got different life experiences. They have, different socioeconomic backgrounds, shall we say, and different starts in life. So, again, for me, watching how these 3 women have kind of, navigated their career, made the decisions they've made. I'm very lucky. They've all kind of offered to do some mentoring, which is, I'm so honoured. Again, I'd say if you ever get those offers, snap them up. Sometimes ask for them as well, right? Because not everyone's generous with their time. But I find a good leader if you sort of say, hey, can I ask you a little bit about your journey? Yeah. Who doesn't like talking about themselves?
And I think that's important to highlight, because there's a number of protected characteristics, and people can look at the Disabilities Act to see the full spectrum, but we're looking at race, gender, disability. I have a hidden disability myself, socioeconomic status, and things of that nature. So it's powerful to see that representation at the highest levels.
Yeah, I think so.
What I want to ask next is, it's very clear from our conversation so far, you have a commitment to supporting communities and for advocating for various groups of people. How do you balance that commitment in the corporate space with your kind of day-to-day responsibilities when it comes to leading digital transformation and working in that digital transformation space?
I'm smirking because sometimes not very well, if I'm really honest. That's not... I hope I'm not in trouble with any other bosses. I think they tell me.
Yep.
Again, we work in a very transparent place, but I always tell the network our day jobs have to come first. They just have to. We have to keep the business operating. We have to keep the lights on. And some of us have got some pretty serious roles in the company. So again, that's great because we've got that visibility, haven't we, and that representation. But at the same time, it can be a bit of a burden sometimes. You know, right now we've just started the Fast and the Curious campaign for the year. So we are going to pick different religious kind of fasts, cultural fasts. We're even doing a secular one for intermittent fasting. So different fasting events throughout the year. Basically, try it. Have a little go at something that perhaps isn't from your background. By kind of implementing those things, I'm then kind of spotting, oh, hang on a second, I'm using all my project skills.
Yeah.
So I'm quite lucky in that there's a big overlap between my day job and running a network.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to be from a project background to be a successful chair.
Yeah.
It's just what's working for me as an individual. And yeah, going back to kind of your day job comes first. Again, transparency with the network. Come and tell me, or come and tell someone else in the team if you're a little bit overburdened. We'll lift it off you. It was me 2 weeks ago. I was going, oh gosh, I'm not going to have all these bits ready for the launch of the campaign. And the team just rushed in and did it. So it's the first time that I've done that whole, okay, you do it and I watch thing. But it was really beautiful and they did a great job. And again, it taught me you don't have to control and manage everything.
Yeah.
We've got to a point as a network where we're mature enough now that if I do get hit by a bus tomorrow, it's not all going to fall flat on its face. There are plenty of people ready to kind of step in and pick up. And because we are making the strategy transparent and sharing it, it would be easy. Someone would just go and sit in my chair job and pick up and carry on. Hopefully it'd be a bit sad if I wasn't there, but you know, it's that. And that's how I run my day job. You have to be prepared that you might be poorly tomorrow. Something might happen. So yeah, I think if you're always planning for what happens if I'm not here, then we're not wasting anyone's effort. We're not duplicating either, which is really important because it's voluntary roles. You've only got so much time, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think where we go next, though, is around things like automation. Again, I'm not quite sure what those opportunities are, so I'm speaking very high level at the moment, but I think there's got to be opportunities when I become more of the advocate role to look at how we can, change that kind of dynamic and maybe align tech and inclusion a little bit better around things like UX design, user experience design, and even just sort of project planning and things and thinking about, like right now we're working with the Middle East team on an implementation. It's Ramadan.
Yeah.
No one's really thought about it. And I'm going, hello, it's Ramadan. We can't ask, they're 5 hours ahead of us, but also they'll be getting ready for iftar and things like this. So we need to kind of think about these things, I think, when we're planning. So that's the beautiful two lenses I have, is that I can think about the human people I'm asking to do this very technical work. And I'd say if you're in a situation like mine, then maybe that's where you can really add value in both capacities. I'm also about to get some stuff run through perhaps our panel as a network, just looking if the rollouts and the testing that we do is inclusive. Quite often we think we've got a test right, and again, I'm sure lots of other businesses have these challenges, and then we didn't consider the user with disabilities, or we didn't, when I say that I mean like colour blindness or something like that. Someone's just forgotten in the design to look at it's AC3, isn't it, I think. So yeah, it's about, I suppose, the thinking about everyone, planning for everyone. If you do that all at the start, your project and your implementations are good. Same with the network. If we think about everyone and we include everyone's thoughts and voices, then we don't need to kind of go, oh, panic, middle of the year, change all the strategy and stuff, because we know where we're going.
I really appreciate you sharing those insights and experiences. And I think one thing I've pulled from the conversation already is you do a lot of advocacy around various groups, not just in the staff network space, but also implementing that inclusivity within corporate processes and structures and things of that nature. We've spoken about race, we've spoken about gender. I want to touch on the work you do around supporting the next gen. So I know you've mentored young women, and you've also spoke at career fairs and events across the board of Croydon as well. what I want to ask is, based on your experience and insights into the youth population or the next gen, what do you think is the biggest need for them at the moment, and how can companies or organizations like support them as best as possible in 2026?
I have three things for you:
Yeah.
access, honesty, and role models.
Okay.
Right now, young people need clear pathways into their first roles. I know that these roles are diminishing, but they still need them. We can't expect people. Have you ever seen anyone jump in at middle management? It's an absolute nightmare most of the time, you know. So
Yeah.
we need people to kind of learn their skills ground up anyway. So yeah, they need clear pathways into roles. They need practical skills, preferably transferable, nothing too honed, because we just don't know
Yeah.
where the future of work is going. And I think workplaces where everyone feels seen.
Okay.
So I'm kind of a big believer in like hosting people.
Okay.
If someone comes into my space, my office, whatever, and this is probably why I advocate all the time.
Yeah.
I see that it's almost like I run a hotel. I know it's not my business, but just, have you got a drink? Are you okay? Say hello
Yeah.
to facilities. Have I cleaned that meeting room down? Like, I'm not, oh no, it's someone else's job. I think you should always be ready to roll your sleeves up and do the work. That's showing young people how to behave,
Yeah.
how to conduct themselves. And I think, again, going to that quiet person and going, are you okay? I've just
Yeah.
noticed that you, how you doing? Are you
Yeah.
having a good day? Just start really friendly. Not, oh, I notice you sit on your own all the time.
Yeah.
No one needs reminding of that. But just being that friendly face. My boss said to me, I don't know if I'm allowed to repeat this, but apparently I light up rooms, which is a skill that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
So again, if you're that kind of person that seems to attract other people, it's great to get my embrace banner on and,
Yeah.
you know, my little flag out. And I think that's what is inspiring people to join our mission, because it's kind of like, it's fun, it's appealing, it's attractive. But yeah, for young people, we definitely need to create roles and opportunities that suit them. I think adults need to take them seriously as well. Like I said, Jalen's he teaches me a lot, and some people would look at him and go, "Oh, he's just a young man," but he's going to be my boss. I'm sure of it. He's going to be my boss one day. Actually, several of our younger network members, I think, have the capacity to lead the business, but having the capacity and the potential and being there are two very different things. So we need to kind of create those pathways for future talent as well, and I suppose maybe even sponsoring it.
Yeah.
But it's quite a scary time to be young. I don't know about you, Ed, but when I left university the first time in sort of the noughties, it was when we were going through the financial crash then.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to get work. A lot of us just took those entry level roles in, you know, hospitality or service industries or whatever. Those roles are diminishing, and actually your average worker is trying to capture those as well. So apprenticeships, traineeships, I think it all needs investing in.
Yeah.
I think otherwise, you know, what happens when everyone that's in these roles retires in 10 years' time? We've got to kind of fill these voids in some way, haven't we? So I don't have the answer. If anyone wants to get in touch and
Yeah.
discuss it, it'd be great. But yeah, young people definitely need access to opportunities, and they need you and me to be the role model of the right behaviours so they can get it right first time, and not, oh, stupid young person, they don't know this. They can't know what they don't know. And if you're not showing them the right stuff, you're as culpable as they are, I think.
And I think that's all really important things to highlight, especially around that sort of transition of the next generation, especially into leadership or senior roles and opportunities as well. It wouldn't do justice to Women's History Month without talking about the work you do in that space beyond mentoring. And what I want to go on to now is talk about your journey in becoming a white ribbon ambassador and the work they do in terms of ending the violence towards women and young girls. I don't want to ask why that's important, because I think it's quite evident.
Yeah.
But what I want to ask is, what do you think companies can do to create more gender safe environments, particularly for women at work?
Yeah.
And also beyond that, what is a white ribbon ambassador to people who are new to that term as well?
So you can be an ambassador or a champion. Let's just
Okay.
start there. Ambassadors are female
Yeah.
generally, and champions are generally male. The thought being that if you're a woman, you've probably experienced some form of violence or sexual assault or something at some point in your life, as sad as that statistic is. So again, you've got that lived experience, I suppose, and that sisterhood kind of
Yeah.
lens maybe. So yeah, it's for men and women. It was brought to Serco actually by our Women's Inclusion Network, Big Up Inspire,
Yeah.
and their sponsor who runs our justice and immigration function. Again, I think because we have women working in prisons, male prisons predominantly, we need to make sure they're safe,
Yeah.
not just psychologically, but physically. I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think we have that many unsafe incidents that are gender based. I think we're quite lucky as a business. Oh, not lucky. We work hard as a business to
Yeah.
reduce that harm. But in terms of my personal kind of, I suppose, allegiance to that work, again, I don't just want to specialise in Embrace's kind of inclusion needs. I think it's important if I'm going to be a capable leader, I
Yeah.
need to think about all these different kind of implications and things. It goes back to the role modelling, being
Yeah.
that example. Opportunity to learn. There might be something that comes up in there that I wasn't aware of. And I think from an Embrace lens, I am acutely aware that perhaps there is, I know it's all women and girls, but I do think perhaps disproportionately we see certainly South Asian women and black women face generally a lot more violent threats, not just perhaps from their spouse, but maybe from family in terms of honour killings and things like that. So, yeah, I suppose my job is trying to keep everyone safe. I've done things like mental health and well-being and first aids, all around those things. So again, it's just another bow to the arsenal of how can I help someone
Yeah.
if I have anyone in these situations that I'm working with. And also I think being ready to call out behaviours in public and identify perhaps when someone is sort of giving signals of not being in a safe space, and being able to isolate them perhaps from the issue and just check on that safety, I think is really important. I haven't finished the training, so
Okay.
don't take everything I said as gospel, but just, I think, again, I like to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, Ed. So this is me preparing for the worst, I suppose. Again, maybe I'll inspire a few more gents to get involved as champions. And, for me, I think toxic masculinity affects all of us, male and female. I don't think it's just a women's or young women's issue. And actually, the young women that I mentor, it's not just career based, it's quite complex, Ed. So there's a lot of young women out there that have confidence issues. I think that's quite standard for younger people anyway. I'm sure you and I have
Yeah.
moments of it, but they're almost so anxious about kind of going out into the world sometimes that they're almost just becoming like agoraphobic.
Yeah.
It's not healthy at all. Don't get me wrong, as a young woman, I felt like that sometimes, that, these spaces aren't safe, I shouldn't be here, this isn't okay. So again, it's about giving women the power to get out of those situations as soon as possible. It's all a learning curve, though. So yeah, maybe we need to do another chat in a year or so, and we'll see how this work kind of evolves. But I'd massively advocate. All the training and stuff's been really, really good. It's a great organisation. So perhaps think about implementing it in your own business. You don't need to have women working in prisons and things to benefit from this. As I said, there's a societal aspect of having this knowledge and this capability, and I suppose a community you can go to and say, I saw this, what should I have done?
Yeah.
I kind of wish there was something like this for race and ethnicity, to be honest, but maybe that's our 2027 project. But yeah, it's important work, isn't it?
Yeah. Agreed. And one thing I want to say on that point is I'm personally definitely going to look into the White Ribbon Ambassador or Champion program as well. And I think there's definitely a lot as a male we can do to create safe spaces for women, particularly in the workplace. On that point, what piece of advice would you give to a woman who's currently in the corporate sector who may be experiencing some form of discrimination, whatever level of severity or scale that is, and doesn't currently feel empowered to speak
It's a really difficult
about it.
one
Yeah,
because it really depends where you are, doesn't
of
it?
course.
And your employer. I think if your line manager seems to be the problem, first attempt, or what I've always done is go above them by one, maybe
Okay.
two rows. Sorry. If that still isn't working, or if you feel that isn't the right call at all and will add to the situation, you need to seek out HR. In our business, we're quite lucky. We have an ethics and compliance team. So if you're still not kind of getting the support you need, there is a way of making a kind of official complaint and having a full investigation. I think your networks might be a great place to start as well. I'd like to think if anyone was feeling that way and not feeling the support in the business, they could come to Embrace and we would signpost or maybe even sponsor those conversations to start happening productively. I think there's also a question of like, do you really want to be there? I know we all need jobs and we need to carry on paying bills and things, but if you don't have to be there, or if there's an opportunity somewhere else that's coming through for you, maybe it's time to get out of that nasty situation. Like, you shouldn't have to tolerate it. I think as well, though, finding allyship can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult though, isn't it? Because if you're a quiet individual and you're feeling like that, how do you break that comfort zone and find a friend? So again, this is where the leaders come in, having that conversation, that quiet person in the break room, like I said earlier, being that role model, being very open and saying, you can come to talk to me, drop me a note anytime if you don't want to talk to me. So I always say the inclusion manager or my line manager. If you really want to say something, go to them because they will absolutely hold me accountable. It's never happened, fortunately, but again, I think we all need it's the feedback loop, isn't it? Don't assume that your practice is perfect just because no one's saying otherwise. Put feedback forms out. I like a 360 bit of feedback. It's hard though because I do think statistically, young women will have a rocky few years where they get started. I didn't get taken seriously till I was about 30. I even had male managers that would say things like, "Look, you silly little girl. I'm a 26-year-old woman, man." So
Yeah.
I think it's a really difficult one to answer, and I'm not sure I've got the answer for you. I think you need to try and get that support and that sponsorship, that mentorship, that help. But yeah, if it's really not right for you, maybe you need to self-preserve and get out of the situation if it's safe to do so, or if you're able to. Maybe you just need to reach out to someone like me and we can have a little chat and just talk it through. Because I think sometimes it might just be that you're perceiving things. As a network, Embrace has definitely gone into some of our more interesting contracts where there have been some issues around inclusion and delivered sessions not to directly address the problem, but to just do scenario-based discussions.
Yeah.
And through doing that, people start to realise their own accountability to perhaps creating the problem. And then we get feedback about 3 to 6 months later. Everyone's getting on a little bit better. They're more tolerant, more respectful. So again, I don't know if the network exists where you work, but could you use your network to perhaps advocate for you in a very subtle way with the team that's causing the issue?
Yeah, I think you've touched on some important points there. And if you're not able to explore options internally, definitely look at any external sources that you can reach out to. I know you've kindly offered for people to reach out to you, so we'll share the most suitable contact routes for yourself in the description as well, so people can do that. And myself as well, I haven't done my white ribbon ambassador training yet.
Doesn't matter.
I will do, but if people want to reach out, feel free to do so as well. And I think being able to talk about the experience, regardless of what it is, and regardless of what group you're in, is important as well.
Just
So
feeling heard, isn't it? I think, when you have those.
being heard is so important. I'm going to wrap up with a few last questions. And the first one I'm going to ask is, we've spoken about a lot, and we've spoken about some difficult and challenging topics in this conversation as well. What do you want your legacy to be? And I'm not talking specifically about Serco, because your influence and work extends beyond your organization. But what do you want your legacy to be in general? When people think of Tansy in 10, 20, 30 years time, what kind of like traits or behaviors or like thoughts do you want people to think of?
So I keep smirking
Yep.
because you're just making me sound like a much more capable person than I feel I
Yep.
am some days, which is, thank you, it's really
Yep.
kind. What's my legacy? Where do I want to be? I don't actually, it's really weird. I'm very bubbly. I like making friends. I like talking to people, but I don't want to flag with my face on saying Tansy made the world a better place.
Yep.
All I want to do is, at the end of my time here on this lovely earthly plane,
Yep.
is know that I did my best. And if I could make the world even 1% nicer as a legacy, but very kind of discreetly, I think that's going to be a life's work well done. So for me, I actually believe that about 95% of human beings generally are very nice people. I think most of us are just quite placid and quiet and just getting along with our own little journey. So I suppose if I can inspire those people to stand up to the not so inclusive and kind and compassionate individuals, and we can start to educate the 5% rather than, social media makes it feel like we all hate each other, and I hate these divide and conquer tactics. So let's get rid of that sort of vibe on social media.
Yeah.
Let's start to feel like kind of one human race, which for me, I think we are. Yeah, that's the legacy I'm going for, Ed.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you. I don't want it on my tombstone or anything. I just want to
Yeah.
know I did the same as my grandma. I just want to know that I did the right things. Not all the time. I'm human. I'll make mistakes, but that's the legacy I'd like to leave, and that I've inspired other people on this kind of journey too.
Yeah.
Pass it on.
I think that's an important thing to highlight and touch on, because a lot of the things you've touched on relates to generic human kindness. And I think I observe it most in like babies. When you put like babies in an area of other babies, regardless of the racial background or the other particular characteristic background of other babies, their immediate instincts are to engage, to interact, and
Yep.
etc.
Yep.
And I think as people get older and develop, that's where a lot of the negative connotations around different demographic comes into place. But if you watch babies like interact with each other,
They love each other,
they
right?
just love each other, and it's just an automatic thing.
Yep. Yep.
So I think it's kind of evolving that analogy and that kind of like mindset into adulthood, into later stages of life. So yeah, I can really resonate with that. One thing I'm gonna ask next is, we have a pass the mic segment where the previous guests will ask a question for the next guest.
Yep.
And what I want to ask you is, and I think it's very relevant to the conversation we've had today, but what's one thing that's enabled you to confidently navigate the ERG space? That would be good for you to share. And that was a question from our previous guest.
It was. So again, when it was phrased and to me in the brief, I'm going to be really honest, I kind of thought, am I qualified to answer this as a white woman?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to, I don't believe in advice for white people and advice for everyone else. It's not a thing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just going to, from my experience, dealing with adversity in your professional career, you need to check in with yourself. I think that's my first piece of advice. Yeah, check in with yourself. Have I done the right thing? Have I prepared myself? Have I done all the courses? Have I done all the learning? Have I shadowed? If your answer is yes, there is a chance that you are facing some unconscious biases. You are not going to change the interview panel's outcome, but can you learn to adapt yourself? And again, I hate this, but sometimes you just have to do this to get through the door, don't you? Is adapt yourself slightly. I don't mean make yourself smaller. I just mean use your superpowers when you need to, hold them back when you don't. So I think, again, it's about kind of looking at that culture, get the feedback as well. If you weren't successful, go and find out why. Don't make assumptions. I think it's so easy about, it's because I'm a girl. It's because I'm black. It's because I've got one leg. Whatever it is. Is it that, though? And okay, there might be some issues with the truth of the feedback you get, but I think just asking and having that open approach, what I've found is quite often when there is an opportunity that comes up again, you're thought of because of the maturity of how you handled it. So it's awful advice in a way, because the adversity is basically going, oh, well, just double check you've done everything and that you're accountable to yourself, and then maybe try and adjust your approach and get some feedback. But I think that's how I have changed my situation. I hope it would work for people. And yeah, if it's not good advice, someone let me know, because I'd like to hear what the better advice is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and sometimes it is just because people have their biases.
Yeah.
You can't change that. So do you really want the job there?
Yeah.
I think the answer is no for me. Again, though, I recognise that my career's at a point where I can pick and choose a bit more. Not everyone has that.
Yeah.
Volunteering is also, though, a great way to expand your CV and your skill set. And free courses online, and you can do things through the libraries and all sorts now. So I don't think you need money to move forward. I just think you need time and energy. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And before we wrap up,
Yeah.
we spoke previously about people potentially reaching out if they don't feel they have any other avenues to go to, especially if they're a woman in the workplace facing a form of discrimination, whatever it may be. And I know you're on your journey for the White Ribbon Ambassador training, but hopefully by the time this goes out or in the future, that'll be completed. So where's the best routes for people to contact you if they want to learn more about the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm more than happy with LinkedIn.
Okay.
Fortunately, I have a nice, unusual name, so I think I'm quite easy to find. Although I should be Tansy Goodman soon, because I actually got married last year and I just haven't sorted my documents out, because why put your personal life first? So yeah, I do need to perhaps change my name. LinkedIn's probably best. I don't find social media to be a very healthy place, so I avoid it at all costs. And again, if we connect on social media, on LinkedIn, and there's a need to do some further work together, then I'm always happy to, look at other forms of contact. But I think LinkedIn's a good first stop, please.
Amazing. So we'll put a link in the description to your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So when your name does changes, the link will still remain and they'll still be able to contact you. And congratulations, Tansy Goodman, as well.
Thanks very much. It still feels really weird hearing it.
Yeah.
But you've got to do some of your personal stuff along this professional journey as well, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what's around the corner, and I don't want to be one of those people that had a fantastic career but no personal life.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for celebrating our lovely little wedding, though, Ed. That's I'm sure Mr. Goodman will be very happy.
Yes.
So yeah,
and hopefully he listens as well.
Oh,
And
he's
knows
been
we're shouting him
messaging
out.
me all morning, just like, just be yourself. You can do this, which is lovely.
Amazing.
But I'll obviously share the link with
course.
nearly everyone we know.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get more people into the podcast. Again,
Yeah.
advocacy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my thing as a doorway, and
Yeah.
then we go, but it's great. Watch all of them.
Yeah.
Watch them with your team,
Exactly.
So thank you as well, Ed, for creating this resource. For giving me the opportunity to come and talk to everyone today. I think particularly white allies I'd love to hear from, because I think, let's just empower some more people to do the right thing, rather than go, I know what's right, but I'm scared to do it. And sorry for waffling on again, but it's just been exciting.
Honestly, really inspiring conversation. And I feel we touched on a lot of topics that will resonate to different audiences and groups. So I really appreciate the transparency in what you've shared as well. So I'm going to wrap up by saying thank you for everyone for tuning in and locking in. If you really enjoyed that conversation, please like, comment, subscribe. As Tansy said, if you're a white ally, would love to hear from you in terms of how you've been able to navigate the ERG space, particularly in advocating for people from underrepresented groups and Black professionals. And also, if you're someone who's listened to this for the first time and you resonate with some of the tips and advice Tansy has shared in terms of her own journey in that space, please share in the comments in terms of how you've used it successfully in your organization and how you've used that to kind of get more involved in staff networks, as it's a responsibility for us all. I'm going to end there by saying thank you once again for locking in. Please comment, subscribe, share, like. As Tansy said, listen to it in your teams, in your friend groups,
in your car,
in the car,
on the train.
We're on
Maybe not on a
Spotify as well,
Yeah.
so you can listen to it on your travels or holidays or whatever it may be.
Share
And
it with a
please
friend.
share it with a friend, and please continue to advocate for the people who have kindly taken their time to share their stories on here. That is another episode of Behind the ERG, and we look forward for you tuning into the next one. Take care.